Listen, man, I think it's time to have real conversations, all right? Bronny James was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers as the 55th overall pick, and it is arguably the biggest pick of that night in terms of talking points and controversies. And friend of the show, Jimmy High Roller, just made a video on this, the truth about Bronny James playing in the NBA. Was it nepotism? Was it not? Was it deserved? Let's have the conversation in the comment section down below. Links to Jimmy's video will be in the description as well. And let's get it going. Let's get it going.
24 NBA draft in the books. There is one major discussion that has dominated the NBA space over the last week. It isn't about the #1 overall pick. It isn't about the outlook of these teams going.
It should be though, because Zachary Ricochet at 1. Ooh, hopefully he can prove me wrong, man. But that was giving Anthony Bennett like it's ever given Anthony Bennett since Anthony Bennett. Like
going into next season, it's about a late second-round pick, and for good reason, because his name is LeBron James, and he's gonna play in the NBA with LeBron James. It's a weird and unprecedented circumstance that the NBA has never encountered before. A player who many fans consider to be the greatest of all time playing in the NBA with his own son. A story so strange, you'd think the NBA scriptwriters outsourced their work to ChatGPT, picked the most batshit result, and called it a day. But after 2 years of speculation, we now know with certainty that Bronny James will be an NBA player. And right on cue, the criticism of his merits and value as a future player in the NBA have already came pouring in. Scouts and GMs claiming Bronny as a prospect isn't even worth using a late second-round pick on, and that the real value lies in his last name and the leverage it comes with. But how valuable is a second-round pick, really? And is Bronny a legitimate NBA player, or is he only in conversation solely because of who his dad is?
Who do you want to play with?
Bronny is #1 on my list.
I gotta be on the floor with Bronny.
Listen, man, my biggest question with Bronny is if his name was Michael St. Clair, would he get drafted? And I do understand that he does have pro skills. He does have pro upside in terms of his defense. I've heard his defense be brought up a lot. His shooting during the workouts were really good, but outside of that, though, undersized guard with not much playmaking is a risk.
This is Ken Griffey, former major leaguer and 3-time All-Star. This is Ken Griffey Jr., son of Ken Griffey. And in 1990, these two did one of the coolest things a father and son can possibly do. They played in the MLB together. And when I say together, I don't just mean they played in the MLB at the same time. They were on the same team. In fact, they weren't just on the same team, they shared the same outfield with each other. It's probably the rarest and most badass thing you'll ever see in sports. Making it to the big leagues is one thing, but playing—
Would that be weird to y'all? Just that dynamic. Let's say you're in that Laker locker room of a father and son being in the same locker room. You know what I'm saying? And even within that dynamic of father and son, let's say you are Bronny or LeBron, like, how do you hold each other accountable? Not necessarily what you would do, but just exactly how would that play out? You know what I'm saying? And the whole dynamic, too, of like, listen, bro, a coach's son has already been a problem in sports history, going all the way down to rec leagues. You know what I'm saying? Elementary, middle school rec leagues. The coach's son theory. But the player's son? How do you deal with that dynamic? It's so interesting to me, bro.
Playing in the big leagues next to your kid is a club exclusive to only these two. And if that wasn't incredible enough, on September 14th, 1990, the Griffeys pulled off something that you will never see again in your lifetime.
I'm gonna inch back up there now.
Wells hit the center field. Devon White going back. Gone! A 2-run home run.
Back. Hey!
He hits one well to left center field. Dante Bichette. Back-to-back home run.
What else can these guys do?
The Griffeys were great, and they were the first and only father-son duo in the history of Major League Baseball. But they weren't the first father-son duo in professional sports. This is Gordie Howe, one of the greatest players to ever touch the ice. He won 4 Stanley Cups, 6 MVPs, held the NHL record for total career points at the time of his retirement, and is a member of the NHL's 100th anniversary team. Gordie had an incredible pro career as a
Y'all watch
hockey
that Game
player,
7 chat?
and yet out
That
of
Game
all
7
of his
chat.
accomplishments, the coolest thing he ever did was this. This is Mark and Marty Howe, Gordie's sons, and he played professional hockey with them in both the WHA and the NHL for 5 seasons. Now, if you're thinking, that guy looks a little old to be playing professional sports, you're right. Gordie began his career in the NHL in 1946 when he was just 18 years old. By the time he retired for good, he was 51.
Damn.
A career that stretched from the 1940s to the 1980s. And
That's so interesting because I would think in hockey specifically, like you would have shorter careers because of how physical the sport is. Damn. And they have like 82 game seasons too, from my understanding. Maybe it was different back in the day, but bro, that's crazy.
And only with a career like this can a player even have a shot at playing in the league together with their son. Why exactly am I talking about home runs and Gordie Howe? Well, because they're awesome, but also because of these two and what they're about to accomplish in their own sport. LeBron and Bronny James, who are on track to being the first father and son duo to play together in the NBA, an idea that seemed far-fetched when LeBron first mentioned it years ago, but has now become a reality. But how legitimate is Bronny's spot in the league? And is the backlash towards the Lakers selecting him with a second-round pick in the draft warranted? Well, to answer this question, we first need to know just how good Bronny is as a prospect and as an incoming NBA player. Right now, NBADraft.net has Bronny rated at an 88 overall across their 12 prospect metrics. This overall rating puts Bronny on the lower end of all second-round picks and future prospects over the last 3 years, but well within range of your typical mid to late first rounder. Now, here are Bronny's numbers during his 1 season of college basketball. 5 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists a game on 47, 30, 69% shooting splits. Now these numbers, especially from a relatively undersized guard, do not scream NBA potential. But for perspective, here are the average collegiate stats from every late second round pick that played college basketball over the last 5 years. And even when compared to late second round picks, Bronny's numbers aren't nearly as impressive. In fact, Bronny is arguably the least productive college prospect in NBA history.
Damn. I'll save my thoughts for later in this video, but damn, Bronny, W dad, man.
Here is a list of every player in the entire history of the NBA to be selected in the first 2 rounds of the draft that averaged less than 5 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists a game in college.
Damn,
And that's
it.
Just 3 players who were selected in the NBA draft.
What was this? Check Diallo. I remember Check Diallo and Robert Havtokas. And it looks like he played overseas, so you know what I'm saying, that scales a little bit. But even then, I don't know. Y'all don't see the stats chat. 0.8 points per game, 1.3 rebound, averaging 1 minute a game on 29% true shooting. Boy, what the fuck? Yo.
With college numbers equal to or less than Bronny's college numbers. Pair that with the fact that these prospects had at least the benefit of having NBA frames and physical tools to be potentially built off of, and the case for Bronny warranting a pick in the NBA draft becomes more and more difficult to make. But to really demonstrate exactly where Bronny falls amongst other second-round picks, here is a chart of every college basketball player selected in the second round of the draft over the last 10 years, with box plus minus on the x-axis and minutes per game
The
on
Jimmy
the
Howard graph
y-axis.
chat. Here we go. Where's Bronny?
298
Where's Bronny,
selections
chat?
spanning 10 drafts.
Predictions.
More than half of these players not even in the NBA today. Where's Bronny? He's right here. Most late draft picks, even the guys who go on to not even make a roster in the league, were first or maybe second options in their college program. Bronny, on the other hand, was an undersized rotational player on a sub-500 team. It doesn't take an NBA scout to know that Bronny James's collegiate career wasn't that of your typical second-round draft pick. But how good is the typical second-round pick? With the rise of second-round sleepers in recent history, most notably players like Nikola Jokic, Jalen Brunson, Herb Jones, and Jordan Clarkson, the potential value of a second-round pick in the NBA draft is about as high as it's ever been. With the help of advanced metrics, the curtain has been pulled back on the value even a solid role player can provide to a winning team. Prospect scouting has gotten more comprehensive than ever before, and these second-round picks have held considerable weight within recent trades around the NBA. But how valuable does that truly make them? Gathered from 10 years worth of draft classes from 2013 to 2022, data shows that on average, out of the 30 players drafted in the second round, about 6 of them won't even suit up in the NBA. That's about 1 in every 5 players selected in the second round that will never see a minute of action in the league.
Dang.
Out of the 24 players who do make a roster in their rookie season, about 17 of them end up playing a second season in the NBA. Of those 17,
My nerd ass is looking at these silhouettes though. That's Bron right there. That's Giannis. This might be Vic or Evan Mobley, man. No, never mind, man. Never mind.
players that are good enough to stick around for more than a few seasons, only about 8 of them will go on to be a role player or rotational level player. Go one step further, and on average, only 4 of these second round picks will become a starting caliber player in their career. That's about 1 in every 8 players selected in the second round. And finally, of the 298 players selected in the second round of the draft from 2013 to 2022, only 2 of them became All-Stars: Nikola Jokic and Jalen Brunson.
I thought, well, Jimmy might have been outside of the last 10 years, but
If we think about the last 10 years of second-round picks on a scale of box plus minus, with Nikola Jokic being on one end and the players who don't even make a roster on the other, then most players aren't in the middle. In fact, they're not even close.
Damn.
Most second-round picks fall way down here, somewhere in between what Basketball Reference would classify as an end-of-the-bench
Shout out to
player
Andrew
and
Nembhard, by
out
the
of
way.
the league. When considering how to use a second-round pick, the idea of drafting a guy who ends up being a real contributing player, a starter, or even a future MVP, the perceived opportunity cost can tend to outweigh the actual value of the pick. Drafting a player of this caliber in the second round is like finding a diamond in the rough. But giving away a pick or a potential player that ends up being of this caliber would be a mistake that no front office wants to live with. But that doesn't change the fact that the vast majority of the time, these second-round picks in the NBA draft go on to be these end-of-the-bench level players. Just out of curiosity, does
I feel like the second round, you either use that to make picks that are really, really low risk, high reward, the injury prone dude that if he just has a healthy career, he might go crazy, or you pick the most NBA ready prospect available. You know what I'm saying? The dude that's been in college for 4 years, was averaging 25 points a game, was a 40% shooter, was a rebounder, was already winning in college. I think that's what the second round primarily is built for. Bronny doesn't really fit either of that criteria. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't have this... unless you really think Bronny is literally the next Gary Payton, unless you think Bronny's athleticism is so out of this world, and he might, because he does have the Bron genes, that is the crazy potential that you bank on, there really isn't anything about Bronny, from what I know, that says he's worth even taking the risk in the second round, let alone in the first round, dude. Like, and I think what Jimmy High Roller is pointing to at this point in the video is just, this is the best case scenario for Bronny, realistically speaking. Specifically how he, after how he played at USC. Because if he wasn't drafted at 55, he wasn't getting drafted whatsoever, because there's really no reason for other teams to draft Bronny James. So I guess just to get my take off before the video ends, I personally do not believe Bronny earned his spot to be drafted in the NBA without the LeBron James name, from my perspective. As this video entailed, and I honestly didn't necessarily need, like, I already had this perception going into this video. There was nothing about Bronny's first season at USC. Also, given his health concerns as well, which thankfully, you know, he's doing well now, but that typically is like a red flag for teams. There's nothing about him that says, yo, Bronny, after year one, is a NBA ready draft prospect in either round. I do think him being the son of LeBron James, I do think Rich Paul being his agent had a really big part in him being drafted in the NBA this year specifically. But do I have a problem with it? No, I do not. I do not have a problem with Bronny being a product of nepotism, being a nepo baby. I don't have a problem with him getting into the league because of nepotism, because of the strings that his dad can pull. And the reason why, this ain't new. This is new to the NBA because of the player-son dynamic. But the idea of nepotism at the workplace is not new. And this is not just a entertainment business thing. This is not a professional athlete thing. Like, I literally know people in real life who have gotten jobs because their dad works at X company. I know people who got internships at certain jobs because their parents worked at X company. You know what I'm saying? They got the in, you know? And my thing is that in America, and I think just worldwide, is not going to stop with LeBron James and Bronny. That is not going to stop. That is something that is going to continue. That is something that has always been a thing. That is something that occurs today in today's society. That doesn't stop with Bronny. That doesn't stop with LeBron. So if that's the case, you holding, this opportunity away from your son, given that it's his dream, if anything, to me, that's like selfish of you, that you have all these resources, because, one thing as a parent that you would love to do, in my opinion, is to provide a life, to provide opportunities for your kids that you didn't have as a child. For them to not go through the things that you had to go through, the struggles that you had to go through growing up. You know what I'm saying? And LeBron James had the opportunity to do that with Bronny. So if that's the case, I truly don't have a problem with it. It's on some don't hate the player, hate the game. This is the meta. Everyone's doing it. So it's cool when they do it, but it's a problem when I do it. That's my whole mentality with this whole Bronny situation. I personally do not have a problem with it whatsoever. I guess my biggest gripes with this whole situation is just the intentions behind it, right? Because, like I said, I don't have a problem with a parent trying to provide shortcuts and opportunities to their kids. I don't have a problem with that, given that it is something that they want. What I do not want is, and obviously my opinion doesn't matter because Bronny's not my kid, that's not my family, but I would just hope that this is something that Bronny truly wants for himself. Now, again, he has said it publicly that, yeah, I do want to be in the league. I just want to get drafted. But we never truly know the intentions behind the scenes. We never truly know what's going on in Bronny's head. And if you want to just take what he says publicly for face value, then be my guest. But I just hope this situation is not a LeBron trying to fulfill this NBA career fantasy that he has to play specifically with his son, even though his son actually wanted to stay in college this whole time, even though his son actually didn't even want to play pro basketball. And even if he did not want to play specifically with his dad and wanted to carve out his own career. That would be my only thing of like, all right, Bron, if that's why this whole situation happened, that is selfish, that is fucked up. But if this is Bronny really wants to get into the league and I can help him out, I don't have a problem with that, bro.
As a late second rounder, if Bronny can contribute on any level in the NBA, he has already exceeded his draft value. And that's really the proposition in all of this. It would be incredible if Bronny developed into a Davion Mitchell or Aaron Holiday caliber player. But the reality is if Bronny can provide any net positive value to his team, then selecting him in the draft will have been a great pick. There has never been a player projected to go this late in the draft with any expectations on what they should or will do in the league. These late draft picks have historically been reserved for players who might have been overlooked, players who maybe underperformed their potential at the collegiate level, players who organizations are willing to roll the dice on because there's virtually no opportunity cost associated with late second round picks. It's all upside at this point in the draft. If they don't work out, well, that's typical. If they do work out, well, then they've beaten the odds. And the very large point being overlooked in all of this talk about potential and value to the team and X's and O's, LeBron James has the opportunity to play basketball with his kid in the NBA. Let's just be honest. This is blatant nepotism, a classic case of it's who you know, not what you know. But nepotism has ran rampant in the NBA for decades, and no one cared. Countless players, coaches, executives, owners who got their shot with far less merit than Bronny has. But now here we are sitting around talking about the integrity of a man who's played 21 seasons in the league and his son because they made the most of an otherwise paltry 55th pick in the draft, and the nepotism leaned in their favor this time around. We can criticize this decision all we want, preach about how this move was a breach of ethics, a slap in the face of the game we love. But then we would all be hypocrites, because there isn't a man on earth who would pass up on the chance to play in the NBA with his son, even if it meant pulling a few strings to make it happen. As much as Bronny benefits from sharing the same last name as arguably the best basketball player of all time, that tag has also came with equal scrutiny. We have never seen a late second-round pick get discussed and limelighted like we've seen with Bronny. But we've...
Like I said, bro, literally he was the biggest draft pick of that night, bro. Or not even that night. He was the biggest draft pick of the 2 days. You cannot convince me otherwise.
Also never seen a late second-round flyer get completely dissected and criticized like this. LeBron and Bronny have a chance to do something that has never been done in the history of the NBA. And that is worth more than any late second-round pick will ever be.
At this point, I am wishing the best for Bronny. You know, I'm definitely not wishing for his fucking downfall. I think this is definitely a cool thing to see. If you just pause the nepotism conversations for a minute, the fact that you see arguably the greatest player to ever play the game play with his son, that is a crazy thing to see. But with that being said, I'm out of here, man. Peace.